Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest today is Michael J. Goldrich, and we're going to be talking about wearing too many hats and too little time, productivity reimagined with the AI personas. Now, I actually am really loving AI. I know most people are running from it, but I always look upon it as a good tool. And he says, don't be left behind in the rapidly accelerating world of AI. Seize the reins of innovation. The too many hats, too little time emerges from reality we all face, juggling, multiplying roles with limited hours in the day. So can I relate to that? The guide serves as a comprehensive introduction to generative AI prompting, yet it also includes integrate technologies or techniques for experienced users. It's a crucial playbook in the era where mastering AI and promoting AI automation is just an advantage. It's essential for keeping pace. It's a guiding light for anyone feeling the pressure of the modern professional landscape, where virtual assistants and AI agents are not just tools, but necessities. And I certainly can relate to all of that. This is so needed at this present moment. The AI is a massive topic going everywhere. I do use it. I really like it. And as I say with anything, you can get behind the wheel of a car and it can become a weapon, or it can get you from A to B. It's all a question of how we use something. And if you're using something ethically for the greater good, then it's going to be advantageous. There are always going to be those that will look to using it in the wrong way. And we just have to accept that and concentrate on how we can use it in our business. But it most certainly is something that's here to stay and here to grow. And if we could get out of our fear, which let's talk about the fear because it is valid in some ways, but if we can get out of our fear and really look at how to use it properly and integrate it into our business, it could take quite a few hats off our shoulders, couldn't it?
I certainly could. And I think actually there are two things. There's fear and there's guilt. So there's
Ah,
fear.
yes.
So the fear which you talk about is, oh my God, this technology, it can do what I can do. Will my boss need me anymore?
Yeah.
It could write my emails. It could write this report. It can analyze this report. Will my boss need me? So
Mm.
that's one side. But the other side, which is sort of the guilt, which people don't really talk about, but I hear this a lot, is when people use this technology, they say to me, I feel like I'm cheating.
Mm.
And so they say that, you know what, what would take them used to be an hour, they can now do it in like 5 minutes.
Hmm.
Now they feel that somehow that's wrong. And
Yeah.
so what I say to them is this, in that situation, when people say to me, express this thing, say, okay, say you have a report you have to do and you don't have time to do it, but you delegate it to someone who works for you.
Yeah.
So you delegate it, you tell them exactly what to do, they do it, they give it back to you. Then what do? You review it, make sure that it met everything you expected, and then you hand it in. Now, with the AI, instead of delegating it to a subordinate, you delegate it to a technology.
Hmm.
Is that cheating? I don't think so. I think that's using the tools properly. It's using the efficiency properly, and it's being smart. And it's because that is the new level playing field, because
Yeah.
people are doing that. You can choose not to do that. You can feel guilty or you can feel afraid.
Mm.
Whatever you choose to feel that you choose to want to hold you back from leveraging this technology, just know that your competition is. Your
Yes.
competition is being more productive. Your competition is getting better insights. Your competition is saving money on lawyers, on marketing, on financial stuff, all this stuff where you're spending this money because you feel afraid, you feel guilty. So it's your it I think it's business's choice to do that, but I think it is a huge mistake not to move forward. So I imagine this. It's like it's a race. Imagine your company or you are in a race and everyone's already running. They're all running and you're just waiting to start running this race. Now, the longer it takes you to start running this race, it makes it even harder for you to catch up all the time you wait. And then once you start running, you're still going to be behind.
Yes.
You're not going to catch up to them. So you got to start running now. And how does somebody start running who doesn't use this technology, who's unaware of it? You got to just start playing with it. Just because you use it doesn't mean that it's you should just try testing it and leveraging it, and you should always try to see how it can help you. Now, there are a lot of companies out there that say, no, you
Mm.
cannot use this, and for good reason, because if you don't know how to use it properly, you could put your company at risk. You can put
Yes.
yourself at risk. If you share proprietary information, that's bad. If you
Yes.
share personal information, that's bad.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things that you can do that are bad, which is again part of the fear and scare and being scared. But then if your company doesn't allow you to do it, then you should practice it at home and
Right.
use something and not company information, or try to figure out use cases that you can use that your company might approve and go to the attorney and say, okay, well, I'm going to write a blog post. I'm going to create social media. Nope, nothing proprietary, no personal information. Can I do this? You should be able to.
Yes. I mean, practice makes perfect. I mean, I've been using it for a while, and I actually used it to edit my book. And what I found is, I have dyslexia. So sometimes I can get phrases in the wrong way. And of course, spelling and grammar is one of those things that also decides to go and do something different. And so I gave the book, chapter by chapter, to AI. It did not change the essence of what I wrote. It didn't even change many of the words I wrote. What it did is it tidied it up and compacted in a way and reordered it in a way that made sense where I wasn't. So I found that it has it's been a godsend for me in many ways because of the many of the stuff that I have to write. And what I do is I compare what I've written to what it's written, and I have not lost my voice. What it's done is
Yeah.
extended my voice, articulated my voice in a way that is perhaps deeper and more rounded. So it gets to know you, right? It
Right.
gets to know you and it knows how to take the essence of me and duplicate that in a way that's more refined. And
Yeah.
when somebody is giving somebody, I will like you to write this up. Here's a gist of it. You've still got to have the information, and then what
Yeah.
you're doing is giving it to AI to refine or to detail or emphasize on, and which you can instruct it to do. But you still got to give it some content to do that with.
Exactly. And I think that's it. And I think part of the reason why people have challenges with this technology is because we have been trained on Google. And on Google, we've all been trained to just put in a couple of keywords
Hmm.
and then you just scroll and click, scroll and click. Now, with ChatGPT, when it came out, the context window looks exactly like the Google context window. So when people first started using ChatGPT, they kind of used the same sort of keywords that they used in Google.
Hmm.
And the content you get was very generic or not very helpful and not very good.
Hmm.
So that's why I think you saw a lot of people try it and then a lot of people stop. And I think the way I think that people need to approach this technology in an exact opposite way they
Hmm.
approach Google, where Google is, keywords, whatever. But with this, whether it's ChatGPT, Google Bard, Microsoft Copilot, or Perplexity AI, or Claude, I mean, there are a whole bunch of them.
Hmm.
The way you've got to approach it is you have to be really thoughtful. You have
Yes.
to really think about what you want. And we've been trained so much. not to think, not to be critical thinkers in this,
Yes.
that it's kind of hard for people, but you need to be, whereas Google, I'd say, is more reactive. You react to what they give you.
Hmm.
You can't really do that with this technology. You need to be proactive. You need to think about context. You need
Yes.
to think about how you want it. And the way that I talk to people about how to do it is similar to what I was talking about earlier, is you have to almost anthropomorphize this technology. You got to imagine it's like a person, but
Hmm.
imagine it's a person that's remote, that it is they're working for you, a remote worker, and it's their first day on the job. So if you think about that, remote worker, first day on the job, and they could pretty much do anything you ask them to do.
Hmm.
Now it shifts to you. It
Yeah.
shifts to how do you get this remote worker to give you what you need. So it really is, how good of a communicator are you?
Yes.
How good of a manager are you? You have
Right.
to manage this.
Hmm.
Are you good at giving instructions? Do you really understand what you want? Because if you do that, it could pretty much deliver anything that you want, but it's really incumbent on you to delineate it and identify what you want, how you want it, and it'll do it. But it,
Articulated. Right? I
yes,
mean, if I can ask it a question and it'll come out and it's very interesting. But if I've written something and I put it in the at the beginning part, write it in my voice. Then I
yeah,
put the content in. So it knows it wants it I want it to duplicate what I am saying, but just refine it. So that way I'm not losing my voice. I'm not losing the essence of what I'm saying. It's just enhancing it, right? But if I didn't
yeah,
put that in front there, or if I put in there, what do you think? Or I'm looking for information on this, then it's going to give me that. It needs instruction. And you've got to be
yeah,
very mindful of what your instruction is.
exactly. Mindful is exactly right. And that's also kind of how I came about writing the book, Too
Hmm.
Many Hats, Too Little Time. Because when I was first learning how to prompt this, one of the ways they tell you to come up with an ideal prompt is you need to give it a role. So
Hmm.
you are a top copywriter, you are a lawyer, you are a chief marketing officer. So then you put in the context and the instructions. And I thought, well, I wonder if I were to name this chief marketing officer and give it some skills and a background, will this persist throughout the chat? And it did. So I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, that's really interesting. I've created a chief marketing officer now. Then I say, okay, what if I create a lawyer that went to Harvard with all these great skills that are expert in this type of problem I'm having, and name it? Will this lawyer persist throughout the chat? And it will.
Hmm.
Then I thought, does the CMO and the lawyer, if I ask them questions, will they both persist and can they handle that? And they could answer my questions and still persist. And then I said, I wonder if I give them a problem, if they can kind of debate it among themselves and give me what they feel is the best case solution. And I saw that they can. Then I started talking to people like, look at what this thing can do.
Yes.
Isn't this exciting? And nobody really kind of understood what I was talking about because this was back in April,
Hmm.
March or April. I'm like, I'm going to write a book about it. I'm going to tell people how to create these AI personas, how a small business such as myself, I created an entire executive team. I created a CEO, a CFO, a CMO, a head publicist, a trainer, head of AI, head of all this stuff. And then I loaded them all up. And then I can, when I have something to work on, I shoot it to all of them. I say, answer in your expertise. They do, and they give me guidance. And so that's how I run my little business. And that's how I think solopreneurs and small businesses, where you don't want to have to pay X amount for marketing, or you want to
Yeah.
have to pay that lawyer X amount of hours. You can cut your lawyer bills probably about 80% because when you're looking at a contract, you can create a bunch of these AI personas with law experience and have them go section by section on a contract and say, what do I need to know here? What are the gotchas? What are the questions I should have to follow up? And then give me a list of all that. And then you take the contract, you take this output and you give it to your lawyer. And instead of them starting at one, they're starting pretty much at 80% done. And
Yes.
then they have the number of hours done. And there you go. you've saved it. You saved the amount of money to buy the book. Buy the book so you can learn how to do it. How about that?
It goes so much further. You're saving the lawyer time, which means you're also saving your pocketbook because you're not having wasting so much time trying to articulate what you need. You're going in there with A, B, C, D, E, F. And now the lawyer can go through that. Yes, this we need to address that. We need to address that. You don't need to. It hones in what they need to do. So it takes a burden off their plate as well,
Yeah,
right?
and it increases, we all know that lawyers take time.
Yes,
It decreases their turnaround time. So instead of
exactly.
waiting a week, 2 weeks, maybe you can get it in 3 days.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that? Who
Oh,
doesn't want that?
exactly. Because let's say that the one thing we all have in common is time, but how we use that time, is very different. And as a solopreneur, as I said, I wear many hats, and some of those hats are extremely wobbly. They're not my forte. I have to wear
Right.
them, but they're not my strength. And so, asking AI a question, I have a dilemma. What do you think? It's amazing what they come back with, and
Right.
and it really is like having a conversation with somebody that sometimes you don't want to have a conversation with someone else because it's your problem. You don't really want to share it, or you know that it's going to become about their problem, not your problem, right? And AI is very, very good at problem solving. The other advantages that I've heard many people using it for is people that are suffering from anxiety or overload or even depression. They're talking to AI, and AI is speaking back to them in a way that is not only rational, logical, but comforting. And they feel that they're being
Exactly.
heard, where they don't want to burden other people with it because they don't want to burden them, but they feel they're
A
being heard.
100%. And I talk about this in the book. You can program the tones
Hmm.
of the persona. So like my CEO, I made a very authoritarian. So
Hmm.
authoritative in terms of how they deal with that. But you can have other ones that are be more instructional.
Yes.
My trainer, I give him an instructional personality. So you can look at that, and I guess in the situation of sort of a wellness coach, you can make it empathetic to an
Yeah.
extent, like, echo back, be echo back what you hear and
Hmm.
follow up and say, give wording of support. I mean, there's
I
so
mean,
many
AI
ways to
loves
deal with
loves,
this.
what do you think? Because they, I'm a universal downloader of wisdom. So this is why it's called self-discovery wisdom. We've all got wisdom right at our fingertips. And it's that knowingness that we all have, that instinct, that intuitiveness, that gut response, whatever anybody wants to call it. And that wisdom is that clarity to actually understand the knowledge that is in front of us and how to use it.
Right.
And I say it's kind of that universal knowledge, just ready to come to you when you ask for it. AI is that earthly knowledge. It's an accumulative of earthly knowledge that is doing the same thing. It's there, ready for you to ask the right question, to give you
Yeah.
the answer you need in your now. And I look at it as a great companion in that sense because, you know, um, who do I turn to for this? I don't know who to ask on this. I don't want to appear stupid. Ask AI.
Yeah.
It doesn't treat you as stupid at all. And it will give you, and you go, aha, of course, right? Because it's very
Yeah.
rational.
Yeah, and even to what you're talking about before with people with anxiety or
Mhm.
people nervous about going into a meeting, whether you have the agenda, you can create these AI personas to replicate maybe the critical conversation you need to have with somebody.
Yeah.
So you can imbue the person that you know you can talk to, you can kind of create their persona, who they are, what they are, and kind of replicate that and role
Hmm.
play that.
Hmm.
In addition, like say you go into a meeting with some colleagues, you know each of their background, you know each of their perspectives on different things, and you load up the agenda and say, let's have a mock meeting
Yeah.
and let's go through these things. And so now you go into this meeting and now you're uber prepared.
Yes.
So you go in and you'll be like, okay. And the other thing is you can feel more confident
Yeah.
going into this because you've gone through it a couple of times, you've role played it, and you did it to the best of your ability, and you looked at all the different angles, and it's sort of like a way to go into it already feeling like a winner because you can whatever angle or what you want to get out of a meeting, you can continue to role play until you're successful to that.
But the other point is you've got a presentation, you have a speech to give, right?
Right.
You don't want to go on. You want to be engaging. You can give that content of what you want to speak out to AI, and it will come back with suggestions. You can go back and forth with AI until you've honed in a speech that you really feel is coming from you. It doesn't look like you're reading it or you've rehearsed it, that it is the essence of you, because AI has worked with you to hone it down into a thing where you go, yeah, this is me, because nobody wants to hear a speech from you. They want to hear how you feel and how you think. So they want to know it's the essence of you, right?
Right.
So that's the difference of how people are going to listen to you or not listen to you. So actors, anybody learning a role, right? It's, you can have AI use the other parts where you can rehearse. There's
I
so many
and I
applications for them.
actually did that. So I was my son wrote a movie script in which he wanted me to play a particular part, and he's like, "Dad, you got to be prepared." So I loaded up to the script, and then I used ChatGPT the voice, and I said to it, "Okay, go through the script, correct me if I miss a word, otherwise give the next word line."
Mm,
So then I kept going through it, and that's how I kind of rehearsed through the script, just talking to this
yeah,
thing. It,
yeah.
it it's amazing. And back to your point about a presentation, what you can do is you can leverage the ChatGPT. It's got this thing called Vision, where you can take a picture of a PowerPoint.
Hmm.
So say you know what you're going to say, you got a picture of the
Yes,
PowerPoint,
yes,
and you know what you're going to say, and you can load that in and say, okay, here's the audience. This is what I present. What's your reaction? And
yeah.
so you can kind of so you can use
And you
this
know
sort
there's
of
going to be no malice, there's going to be no agenda, right?
right,
It's
right,
not in competition with you. It doesn't not like you or like you. It's just going to give you its accumulated wisdom that
right,
that it's had. I mean, that's what is AI. It is millions and trillions of information that is being out there, that is being collected and sorted in a way that now serves us.
right, exactly. 100%. And another way in terms of this is you don't necessarily you can create these personas or personalities that challenge could so you can create not malicious, but ones that just challenge you, say, you know what? That's nice, but where's the money in this? Or
Mm,
where's the cost saving? So anything you say, you can program and say, okay, where's the money?
mm.
How does this generate revenue? So, some people think, they've got these grand ideas, but then it helps you to focus.
Yes,
So you create these personas that basically say, okay, that's nice, but how do we make money with this?
right.
And then you can program it to have it constantly iterate until they feel satisfied that, okay, that makes sense.
And it's not just restricted to words. I noticed that my logo that I used to have, it had a tree in it because it's the orchard of wisdom ready for picking. And I noticed somebody else had that tree, so I knew I had to change it. And so we gave that tree to Chat GT and said, create something, like this that is, for me, uh, re a podcast. And it came out with something really nice. And then we thought, okay, my daughter said, add a microphone to it so people know that it is about podcasting. And it was just like amazing, all the options that it came up with. And I ended up with two for my two different platforms and
Right,
then kind of just elaborated a wee bit on them. But it's like, that's unique to me now. That is
right,
totally unique because it will not duplicate that anywhere else. And that's what's nice about it. And I'm still learning how to use it. I haven't kind of got into the speaking to it. I know there's so much more. My son-in-law knows so much more. And so we
right,
actually haven't had time to we keep saying we're going to have time, but he has two babies. So it's finding time. I'm going to be moving there soon. So I'll have more time to do the tutorial and learning on it. But he and I can talk about AI and the advantages of tech and all of that because we're interested. My daughter isn't interested at all. So he's got someone to talk
right.
to. Um, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Creator.
I have not.
It is a really good movie. I saw it last year in England when I was there in October, and it's basically Android AI bots immersed in with society, kind of humanoids, right? Something goes wrong, millions of people die, and so now America, of course, is going to annihilate and kill all the bots, and they're living in one place quite happily. And there is a scene there where, American soldier has a gun, to a kid's head, and she says afterwards, they have more heart than you do. And that's the thing, is people think that they can't have heart or consciousness. How can we feed them with so much information without a sense of consciousness coming into them?
So what is the exact question on
Well,
that?
the
So,
consciousness, you know, um,
well,
I think people are scared they're going to feel or they're going to take us over, and I know that the chip is coming where they all want to chip
right.
us. Don't get chipped, folks. Don't, because that
Well,
is a control thing. But where do you see the consciousness of AI being?
so it's interesting. So I heard this thing the other day. It's called it kind of explains AI in a way that makes it seem uh, understand the consciousness thing and sort of the reasoning.
Hmm.
And right once it has reasoning and it can explain its reasoning, then that's sort of conscious. But until that happens, so for example, right now, the example I heard the other day is um, there's a man in a room and he has rules to the Chinese language, but he doesn't know anything about Chinese.
Oh.
And through a little door, he gets underneath a request. He looks at it, he looks at all the rules, and then he responds back.
Hmm.
So that's sort of like what Chat GPT is.
Hmm.
It slips it in, it has all these rules, slips it back. But this man doesn't know anything about Chinese. He just has all the rules. Now you've got another guy who actually is Chinese, who understands it, he gets it, and then he spits it back. He understands it, but it's the same information.
Mm.
So one is conscious, the other one's
Mm.
following rules. So
Right.
the only way really to understand the consciousness is you give them both scribble pads
Mm.
and you give the man who's following rules his scribble pad as to why he's making these decisions versus the man who speaks Chinese, why he's making the decisions. And when you look at the scribble pad, that's the consciousness, that's the thinking
Mm.
versus following the rules. Well, the man who doesn't speak Chinese said, okay, well, it said I have to do this, so that's what I did. It said I had to do this, I did that. The other one said, okay, well, he asked me this question, so this is what I thought, so I responded. So it's once you're able to kind of see the scribble pad of the
Yeah.
system and understand the reasoning, because right now there isn't any reasoning, and that is why this system's hallucinate
Mm.
because it isn't thinking about it. It's just generating content. It's
Right.
just generative. That's why it's called generative AI. It generates this content, but it's not checking itself as it creates it. What it wants to do is answer and please you and answer the questions. So that's what it is.
Do you
That's how
think
I
we
answer it.
do you think we will get to that stage though, where it will
Yeah,
start questioning?
they say it's what is it, artificial general intelligence. There's like a clock on that saying like
Yes.
it's coming, it's coming. I
Hmm.
have to imagine that it's going to probably come sooner than we expect,
Yes.
but and I think that's scary
Mm.
because certainly don't want these systems to be smarter than us, but they will be. They already are. Like in
Yes.
terms of handwriting recognition, reading, writing, all these things, these systems can already do
They're an
stuff on performance
encyclopedia,
testing.
right? They've got
Yeah,
all the knowledge. We can't contain all that knowledge.
right. Yeah, so the only way people can win against the AI in the future, so there was a study done, I think, on chess, saying that a man against an AI always wins forever. AI will never beat the AI. However, an AI plus a man can beat the AI because
Yes.
you've got the creativity and you've got the methodology and the intelligence. The two of them together will always be just an AI by itself.
Was that
So those,
War Games?
it's,
Tic-tac-toe?
yeah, no,
The movie going back to the 80s where the
yes, that's
computer
right.
was the size of a block.
That's right. The Whopper, that was it's called.
Oh, right, yes, of course. Yes, and how they beat it in the end was tic-tac-toe.
Yes, that's right. You learn that sometimes the best move is never to play at all. I think
Right.
that's the
Yeah. We are going into this world, and there's no if, and, but. It's out of the bag and it's going to evolve. And again, it's up to us what we do with it. There comes the big word ethics, right? Before we started the show, I talked about scammers and things like this, and they're getting so um, sophisticated now. And I bet many of them use AI in order to present and make an illusion. And it really is now us buyer beware. Do your due diligence when you're working with people before any contracts change hands, money change hands. Literally look at the person if you can't be there, zoom it. You want identification shown. And I think today we're not so offended by that. If somebody said, "Can you show me your passport next to your picture?" or your ID, because there are so many sophisticated scams today that obviously for those that are unscrupulous, they're going to use AI in that way. And AI has a certain amount of protection in there on how it uses it. But of course, it can be manipulated with information as well. So with everything, there is always going to be a negative. And that is try and put yourself only with the positive vibes and not with the negative people. A lot of that is what you're putting out, right? And what comes
Right.
back at you. So we are going to have to be careful because whenever we're given something that makes life easier, there's always a cost to it. And the cost is our due diligence. The cost is our own conscience and how we use it. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
now, I can replace Tilly. I don't need her anymore. But could I instead find something else for Tilly to do in the business that she's actually good at, um,
Yeah.
that she couldn't do before because she was doing this role. So it's just, I think in a lot of ways, all this technology is freeing us up to kind of discover deeper and more profound gifts that we have that because we're trying to earn a living and we just go and do a job, and pay the
Uh,
rent and all of that, that we've sold ourselves short in many ways. And so technology is freeing us up to explore more options.
100%. It's like going through your email and finding out what's spam and deleting that. You aren't
Yes.
gonna have to do that manually anymore. Figuring out scheduling meetings, that's gonna go away. A lot of the repetitive
Mm,
um, soul draining tasks that people have done, eventually that will go away. And then people can focus on being creative and driving value and using their time in other ways. All the stuff that we kind of hate to
yes.
do, that's going to be automated. And while some of us, it's a love hate, like I hate it, but you know what? I'm doing my job. This is what I'm supposed to do. But when that gets taken away, you're like, oh my God, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Now I have to step up. Now I need to be creative. Now I got to drive some extra value. So I think that's also a scary thing for all this
But
technology. But
exciting too. Exciting
it
too.
is,
We're pushing our
it,
own limits.
yeah, no, I think that in some ways, you know what? Our people, we are going to really have to push critical thinking.
Mm,
Critical thinking, keeping the human in the loop is going to be what's important going forward.
yeah.
I think it'll be very easy in some ways, just let it do it. Let the systems run ahead. But I work with a data scientist and he says there's no way it'll ever get more than 90% right all the time.
Mm,
So that 10% could be the most important 10% of your company, of your business. So you always need to have a human in the loop.
yeah.
Always look at it before it goes out because it
Yes.
can make mistakes. And it does make mistakes. I mean, Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, was talking to Bill Gates the other day. He said that these hallucinations, he says it's a feature. He
Mm,
said, we make this system so it can generate new content. And sometimes it's not true, but that's the beauty of it because it can create new and interesting information.
yeah.
And so he was saying this hallucination, I think he was just spinning, but he said the hallucinations are a feature.
Mm.
And so,
Well, I think we are so much more than what we've been allowed to be. I mean, let's look 20 years, let's look 40 years, 100 years, and how much we've evolved. Technology has taken us into a totally different world. And I mean, for me, I started doing podcasting at 57. When I was asked to join somebody else's podcast network, I didn't even know what a podcast was. And that first show I did, which was live, I pressed all the wrong buttons. And since then, I've had to learn how to edit. I've had to learn how to do everything, all of the hats. Do I do all of them well? No. But I know how to do them basically, and there's some things I'm completely still challenged on. Would I like to have something that can step in and do that for me? Yes, I would. Then it allows
Yeah.
my creativity to expand more without being bogged down in the details that have to be done in order for the creativity to come out. And yes, I would love that. But again, I think there's always the moral compass. You know, we are lazy beings in many ways that if we can get somebody else or something else to do it for us. But instead, what we seem to be doing as technology has freed us up in some ways, what we seem to do is take on more stuff to fill in more time. Maybe this technology is freeing us up to give ourselves more time
Yeah.
to really review our own life, to actually be in touch with ourselves, to explore personal things and so that we can bring that personal joy back into the work we do instead of taking something else on that's just going to load us up even more.
Right. I mean, it's a philosophical question. Like, say
Mm,
you have a company, and say your employees, you can give them the amount of work they get done in 5 days. Say they now can get it done in 4 days.
yeah,
Um, are you going to? You have a choice then. Are you going to give them more work to do to fill out 5 days, or do you give them a 3 day weekend
yeah,
and just celebrate humanity
yes,
and empower them, keep them happy? Or so there are a lot of different ways to look at this. I mean, some
mm,
companies will look to okay, now you can do this in 4 days. Got more work to come in, but we
yeah,
don't need this extra person anymore
mm,
because now you can do it all. You three can do now the job of four people, so we don't need the fourth person. So, whenever I take a project on, that's the first thing I tell the clients, that I will not take an assignment in which the goal is to let people go.
hmm,
I will only take projects in which you want to, improve and accelerate the productivity to make you more efficient. Because all the companies I deal with, they've got a huge list of tasks that they can never get to.
you're
So
right.
my goal
Mm,
is to help them get to that list.
yes,
You have
and not
all this.
eliminate people along the way.
Right. Let's get this, and now with this technology, you have so much content that can be created.
Hmm.
And now people know that you can provide information on anything in terms of all the things about your product. So make sure you can answer all those questions.
Yes,
Make sure that you have a thorough, comprehensive website, and your product and your FAQs are fully elaborated. And you can provide like full information on just about anything. And if you choose not to, shame on you, because your competition will
yes,
see that as an opportunity to do that. So I see this as an opportunity for a content rich moving forward, where we know a lot more about everything. And what we'll know about it will be personalized.
yes.
So the information that you get
Hmm.
will be different than the information I get. So whether it's using the images that will be a little bit different, that they'll be auto-generated, and the images that I get that are associated with it and how they address me is different than how they address you. Um, but you need to do that because we need to. The nirvana for marketing is one-to-one marketing.
Yes,
Market to the right person at the right time, with the right price and all that other stuff.
yes,
In theory, this can be done. Now, will a company choose to do that? That's their choice. But I think that companies that choose to do that will reap the financial rewards of that. So
every
that's
customer wants to feel that you are speaking to them and their needs, and you're not a number next, right? Every
exactly.
and a company that treats you as a valued customer and they really want to be of service to you, and your success is their prime optimum. It's important to have that in business because otherwise we feel like a number, we just go next, and the next person is going to treat us like a human being, right? The other side of
Exactly.
it is when you have human beings working for you, and now you suddenly say to them, your week's work is already done. Yes, we could start on next week. But how about tomorrow? Everybody comes in and we have a luncheon and we all get to know each other. on a personal level? Or how about
Yeah.
if you do the same next week, you take a 3-day weekend. You can alternate what you do with that extra day. Or you can make it, we're going to have a training program even further on the AI and how to use it even more. But be
Yeah.
inclusive. When you have happy staff, you will have happy clients and you will have more productivity. So the more of the mundane that is done for them, the background stuff that is done for them, the more productive they can be in serving the client.
100%. I totally agree with that. I think it's about respecting. It's about
Yes.
respect.
Yes.
It's about, and I think that, you know, the AI, if you have a culture with this future of AI, you can have a culture, a workplace culture that's sort of soulless and cold,
Mm,
because we're going to move from an intuitive decision making to data-driven decision
right.
making. So that's number one. You're going to have people being somewhat
We've seen how
surveilled.
those movies work.
Yes, yes, we're going to have people being
Yes.
surveyed to in not necessarily in a bad way, although it could be evasive of privacy, but saying, how are you doing? So
Mm,
then you can kind of design a career tracks for you. Okay, well, this is
right.
how you're doing. Here's some training that you might need. So we're looking at the system's looking at what you're doing. Okay, you're doing a great job on X, but not Y.
Oh, yeah.
Here's some special training on Y. And also could look at, okay, here's some career pathing for you based on how you are tracking. It could be career pathing for you and give you the mentorship, AI mentorship to kind
Mm,
of guide you to achieve your goals. So it could be soulless and kind of lack of empathy, but it could also be empowering. So I think it's just a matter of how people choose to look at it in terms of what you're talking about, and in terms of how the organization
mm,
chooses to leverage it. Are they leveraging it to just get efficiency, or are they looking to try to give their associates a
mm,
create a meaningful workplace with interactions that make a richer company culture?
hmm.
Or are they just looking at the bottom line? I mean, I think there needs to be realistically a balance.
Yes.
You want the efficiency, but you also want a rich culture where people are happy and feel needed and
And that will give you a better bottom line.
it will give you a better bottom
Yes.
line, and it makes, to me, I think working it's your community, right? You
Yes.
spend, in theory, more time with these people than you do with your family or
Yeah.
friends. So you want to create a rich community that is one in which people can feel valued. And I
They
think
don't
that's
want to go.
important.
They want to be loyal to the company because they feel the company is loyal to them. They feel they can grow within it, or that, if they're not seeking that top ladder there, they're very happy to be where they are. But they feel that what they've contributed is appreciated, right? And
Yeah,
everybody wants to know they're appreciated. And if nobody knows who you are and the work that you've done and nobody cares, then it's like a soulless work. But when you feel seen and heard and you feel that you're a part of something, the work family, and everybody sees and appreciates each other, then it makes coming to work something joyful. And you want to be productive, you want to be creative, you want this company to succeed further, and you bring that same enthusiasm and joy to all your
right.
customers. And so it is a totally win-win. A few years ago, I did a whole series of our global environment, of the environment for change, where we have to actually change the way we think before we can change climate change. We have to change the way we think. And there's one guy, pure necessity. It's about people, planet for profit, not profit at the expense of people and planet, which we have seen in the past 30
Right.
years. Look where it's got us, right?
Right.
It's become soulless. We're in the deficit, heart, soul, spirit, and financially, and most certainly when we look at our environment. And if we do not invest in our people, we do not invest in the resources from our planet, and if we do not invest in the equipment that's going to make everything run more smoothly, we're going to be ending up, at dire straits, which we're seeing evidence of right now. So AI is something that becomes a tool, a friend, a resource for someone to do a better job, where they really do feel that they're being able to step up and contribute. And if it frees up any time, then use that time wisely where people can get to know each other within the company and feel that they're a part of the family. It will always spill over to the client. Always. It will always spill over into production. Because when people enjoy what they do and they do it with pride, they're going to do it well.
100% agree with everything that you just said.
AI is a wonderful tool. Again, get into a car, drive it like a maniac, you're going to kill someone. Drive it wisely, it can be a wonderful, exhilarating experience. It's up to you how you use it. And a lot of people are petrified of, and let's face it, yes, they showed pictures of Donald Trump and Biden, camping together, friends together and all of this. And they're showing just, how AI can fool us. Yes, there's always discernment. There is always validate something. But again, maybe validate the people that you're working with as to understanding the ethics of who they are. Because if something doesn't smell right, please pay attention to
Yeah.
that, right? So it's whom you do business with. There'll always be the people that are
Yeah.
going to use it wrong. But if you have raised your own conscious elevation, you're going to attract the right people and you're going to serve the right people, and that isn't going to come into the equation. Don't be afraid of AI. Be cautious. I call two types of fear: common sense fear. Don't step out in front of a bus, it's going to flatten you. And then there's the other fear: I'm afraid and I don't know why, and it's crippling me. And it's
Right.
like, look at that fear. The common sense fear is little hairs on the back of the common sense, don't do it. The other fear is face it. All it is the unknown. The
Right.
more you discover and the more you know, the less fearful you are. So before you judge AI and everything that it can do, right? Look at everything it can do for you and how it can benefit you. It's all your approach. Remember, it can't give you anything back until you give it something to give back.
Exactly. That I again agree. 100% agree with what you're saying.
But we
Very
do need
wise.
guidance. We do need guidance on it. And this is what your book is about, is like how to take the hats off, how to where to use AI, how to use it in a way, again, ethical, in a way that is enhancing your productivity. There we go. Too many hats. And yeah, I mean, and most certainly we have more either solo or small entrepreneur groups today, I think, than we have corporations. It's a massive
Right.
amount of people out there. Many people have left organizations and corporations to start their own business, bringing what they know over there and wanting to do things with more of a conscious heart, more efficacy there. And but they need those kind of corporate tools that only corporate could afford. AI now is affordable to everyone,
Right.
right? And it's not, this the echelon that have it. Everybody has hands on it, and it's get to know it. Get Chat GTT, whichever one you want, and Microsoft has it too. WordPress even has it too. Find one that you feel, is in synergy with you, in easy to use. Start a conversation with it. Ask it some
Yeah.
questions. Get to know it because you will then reduce that fear level, and you'll start seeing the benefits from it.
Yeah. Yeah. The way to address that is whenever you're doing something new, just try it to see how AI would handle it
Yeah,
and what the response is, then go about doing how you would do it. So you can just say, okay, I'm doing this. Let's see how this would deal with it. So each time you're doing different situations, like I was trying to figure out an Excel formula the other day. I just kind of put it in there. I'm like, oh, it just wrote it for me. What would have taken me probably in an hour
yeah,
to do it, it banged out for me in about a minute.
yes.
So it's like, oh, I didn't know it could do such things like that. That's
Exactly.
amazing. That's amazing. So it'll constantly amaze you, whether it's with images, you know, Microsoft things like Excel or Word or whatever you want. Now they even have ones that will create PowerPoint presentations for
Mm,
you. Just give a couple of words. So
yeah, yeah. My son-in-law actually decided to kind of play around with it, and so he took my voice and he took a mimic voice of his, and he did a 3.5 minute audio of me interviewing Colonel Mustard on condiments and the importance of mustard, and it was absolutely hilarious, and it sounds completely like me. And of course, he came over as Professor Mustard, and it was
yeah,
hilarious, and it was so well done. And that's the thing, you can have fun with it. You can use it. People got this Snapchat. Why do people like Snapchat? Because the people are making idiots of themselves. Well, if you can put out little snippets of things that are fun,
Right.
representing your business. I mean, just get creative. Get creative. Have some fun with it
Yeah.
as well, right?
I agree. And that's one of the things this technology is good at, being creative and also great at brainstorming. Think
Yeah.
about things totally different ways than you typically have in the past. So that's the power of this technology.
It's here to stay. It ain't going
Here to
anywhere.
stay.
And
Ain't
as
going
you
anywhere.
said, if you're in business and you're not using it, at some point you will be left behind. It's like with me, I only did audio for the first 5 years, and they said, you've got to do Zoom. My first response was, who wants to watch this old bag? Then followed after that was, it's not about you, it's about the content, right? So you
Right.
thought, now I'm going to go on up on Roku TV, even scarier, right? But you have to evolve if you want to, be relevant in whatever business you're in. AI is an extraordinary tool that can do so much for you. Get to know it. Get to know it. Hire someone to help you understand it, right? And incorporate it into your business. You'll actually end up find you'll be using it in your personal life. And you'll find there's so many avenues that you can use it where it can be something that's really supportive of you personally, and of you in your business. So it's here to stay. You may as well make friends with it.
Exactly. Make friends. I love it.
How do people A, get hold of the book? And also if somebody has a business and goes, how can you help me, Michael? What are you offering them in their business?
All right. So you can find the book on Amazon. It's right up there. Too Many Hats, Too Little Time. Put in Goldrich and you'll see it there, and you can order it through Kindle or paperback. And to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me through my company, vivanderadvisors.com or vivander.com, and it'll get direct there. And I can help your companies a number of different ways through education, through training, through upskilling. I'm doing AI transformations where I'm looking, starting at the beginning and just looking at your overall organization and looking at the use cases and identify where the opportunities are to pilot, and then suggest two or three pilots per department. The other thing that I'm doing right now, two other things is I'm working in companies and just I call it RevGen AI Ops, where it's very tactical. You go into the organization, it's only for about 10 hours a month. And what they do is they pull together marketing, they pull together sales, they pull together customer success, and as well as human resources, and just make sure that the everyone's using the AI
Mm.
efficiently according to the policies. They're updating and educating everybody in that as well. So that's the other thing we're doing. So we're doing a lot of interesting things. So if you're interested in learning about any of this or about how to create these AI personas, just reach out to me.
And so can you spell the name of your site again for those that are listening?
Oh, Vivander, Vivander, Vivander Advisors, Advisors.com, vivanderadvisors.com.
And of course, vendor advisors.com/, too many hats, too little time. And of course,
Yes,
they can find it on Amazon. They can find you, Michael Goldrich, on LinkedIn, but also on
correct.
LinkedIn, you also have the newsletter that people build relationship newsletter, and they can find you in all of those other ways as well.
Exactly.
Start with the book, folks. Read the book. Um, take the fear hat off, right? And go, I'm going to read the book. I'm just going to see how this could be an asset to my business. I don't know where it fits in. And then as you
Right.
read the book, you can see how it can fit in. And then it's okay. I need a conversation with Michael on where, how to integrate this, how to train people. Because yes, it does require a little knowledge. I'm still very much learning. And yes, I am challenged in certain areas because certain
Yes.
technology is gobbledygook. But when somebody shows you how to use it, and it's just like you can't buy a kettle today or a toaster today or anything today without new gadgets and buttons and something when you feel that you need a computer
Right.
degree in order to work it. So yes, there's some learning curve to it, but once you get to
Yes.
use it and you use it, then you really see the advantage of it. Now you're going to give away a couple of PDFs to someone who emails you. So what would be your email?
It's michael.goldrich@vivander.com. So michael.goldrich@vivander.com.
Okay, so the first couple of people that reach out to him, he'll give you a PDF of the book and you can get
Yep.
going with that. And, it's help is here, right?
Yes.
You can't run away from this. It's here. If you don't adopt it, you will be left behind because the tide is definitely like a tsunami moving forward.
Right.
It's how to use it in a way that it is serving you, protecting you, enhancing you, but also on that personal level, even supporting you. So get
Yes.
to know AI. It's something that I really do like, and I'm learning even more and more about it. And very often I just feel it's that assistant that I don't have to explain. Do you know what I mean? I don't need to
Yeah.
explain. I just need to ask a stupid question, and it comes up with a whole scenario of answers. Then it's like, how does it do that just from a two-line question? You know? And it's quite
Right.
amazing. So, so people can get hold of you and
Yes.
reach out. And to everyone else out there, please be willing to accept AI into your life. Do not be afraid of it. It's all a question of how you use it. And if you use it wisely, it's going to expand your whole universe. So thank you, Michael, and to everyone
Thank
else
you.
out there, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.